this is basically what we need to complete the LED truck bed light project. There's a couple things I don't have pictured. Silicone, I didn't get that yet, and the rocker switch that I'm going to use for turning it on and off. So you'll want to get those two things, and I'll put links to those in the description. The rocker switch and the silicone, those are optional. I mean, you don't absolutely need them. So we'll start from the left. We got our wire strippers, and we got our wire cutters, and just a lighter for heat shrink tubing. These are butt splice connectors, and they're waterproof. They heat shrink to the wire, so we'll be using those. This is just a piece of heat shrink tubing for our connections. Multimeter, electric tape, soldering iron, and hot and neutral cable for our power on the LEDs. Next, we're going to show you how to connect the strips together. I have 3 strips close to about 5.5 foot each that I'm doing in my truck. Yours may vary if you have a full bed, 6.5 or an 8. So make sure you measure all that out. And again, the only thing not pictured here is silicone and the rocker switch that I'm using for my installation. So make sure you have these bare essentials. I'll provide links to them if you don't know where to get them. I was able to get everything from Amazon, so it was all easy to throw in one order and be done with. So let's move on to cutting and soldering the strips together. Okay, so as you can see on these guys, there are cut marks. It's literally as simple as cutting them with a pair of scissors, so I'm going to do that. That's where we need to cut, right there. And boom. Just like that, we have a cut LED strip. Perhaps it'll show a little better there. There we go. Cut in half. Super easy to cut, and I cut these to my bed length. My lengthwise of the bed is 5 foot 6 inches on each side, and in the middle is right around the same. I'm actually cutting them a little short. I'm doing about 60 inches for the sides and the back, so a little bit short. This way I can finagle them in different places. Okay, so what we're doing under here is we are trying to find the hot wire in the ground. This is below the truck. This is actually my trailer harness for if I were to plug in a trailer with brakes and batteries and all that good stuff. Now I already know the orange wire is my hot and the white is my ground. Now if you look at the positioning on here, you can actually know what prongs to check to test your voltage. Now the hot prong is at 3 o'clock if you're looking at the harness, and the ground, or the white, is at 6 or 9, sorry. So you can tell by how they're laid out on the actual back of the harness. So we're going to take a move around to the front of the harness. Fix this here. Okay. And I don't know how to do this with 2 hands, but I'm going to try. So you want to open this up and try to get an idea of where the leads are. Next, take your multimeter. First off, for those of you who never used a multimeter, you should get one. It's a nifty tool. Your red wire, you always want to go into voltage and ohms. Black wire is your common wire, so you want to have that going in the common. And to check voltage, I just turn it to the 9 volt setting. to check voltage. And again, I already know the orange wire is what I need to tap into to power these LEDs, but I'm showing you how to double check. So whatever truck you have or car or whatever you want to do, you know exactly which lead to check. So I'm going to try to do this and show you the multimeter. So that right there is reading 12 volts. I don't know how I'm going to show you this, but I'm going to try. Very difficult to do. Plus hold this hitch thing open. Okay, I need a partner and I don't have one right now, so I'm just going to show you. Put the multimeter on the floor, show you it change so you know what to look for. Okay, as you can see we're at 0. I'm going into the harness, touching the orange lead that's tied to the orange wire, and then the ground. And there you go, 12 volts. So you know that's your power and your ground. One word of caution with trucks, the harness for the trailer is what's considered switched, which means your key must be on in the ignition mode. Not necessarily turned on, but it has to be on the accessory position. And that'll give power back here. I might jump that so it's always on back here. I don't really know. I'll let you know how to do that in the video if I decide to do that. But again, make sure your accessory's on because this is a switched outlet. If you want to run a solid power wire, you can either go from the battery, you can add a line in the fuse box to a solid power slot, and that's one way to do it. Now, also with that being said, you can tap off of pretty much anything in a vehicle to run power to these LEDs because they just use 12 volts and everything in the vehicle that's power is 12 volts. So you can go off of headlights, courtesy lights, you can tap into the wiring harness for the stereo, for the dimmer. You can pretty much do anything that's 12 volts, and you can also look up wiring diagrams for your model car. This way you can find out exactly what color wire you need to tap into without having to do all this. But this is one way to do it, to figure it out yourself and verify, and just wanted to show you that. So I have a wire tap right now on my hot lead. Just sticking in my power wire and just squeeze. Give it a good squeeze. Actually, get a bigger wire pliers. Stuck in a weird position here. Okay. And this little clip just pops over it. I hate these damn things, but they're pretty quick. If you There we go. Okay, so there's our hot. Now, like I said, I may change these out. These wire taps are good for gauges between 18 and 22. The starter wire, I believe, is 18 gauge. My power is 22. And I'm tugging on it. It's pretty secure, and it has a clip inside that bites into the wire to bridge them together. I've never had any issues with these in the past, but time will tell. Probably going to wrap this up a bit in electric tape or something to try to waterproof it, maybe touch it with some silicone. So that is our hot. Now, like I said, our white over here is going to be our ground. And I showed you the steps earlier to test to make sure you're going into the right ones. Now, here's the white. Try to kind of pull it out and finagle it a bit to get it out. Like so. I actually think these might be a thicker gauge wire because that one's a lot bigger than the power. We might be able to get away with grounding this out on a ground bolt somewhere, but we'll see. Yeah, it's significantly bigger. I don't think we're going to be able to tap off that one. So let me figure out what we're going to do with this next, and I'll show you the solution. Okay, ground wire. I ended up getting a butt splice. I believe this wire is 12 gauge, so I got a 10 to 12 butt splice. And it's actually weatherproof. They're actually heat shrink, so I'm going to show you how that works now. You just kind of heat them up, and they shrink, which is nice because it makes a good waterproof seal. Kind of blackened a little bit. I probably shouldn't have put a direct flame on it, but that's what it did. So we got our hot, our ground, which was tricky. They definitely don't give you much wire to work with here, so but it's done. Now we're going to go over and check our multimeter, make sure our cables have power to them. So we have our meter. Gonna test our hot and our neutral. And here's our 12 volts. So our wiring's good. I'm just gonna route this wire up to the LEDs and solder those together, and that's pretty much it. Project done. Okay, here's the first initial testing. Key is powered on. I actually have a switch wired in here, which I'm debating about keeping or not because I want to probably run constant power to these. So whenever I'm at the grocery store, I can just flip the switch and they turn on. So just testing my switch I'm running here. To wire your switch, very simple. Run the ground wire to one. Run a ground wire to the other. So your input wire is hitting prong, it doesn't really matter, but your input's hitting one prong, and then the next prong is going from the prong to the actual LEDs. So when you flip the switch, it's just breaking the ground, so they're not powering on. And I'm going to install it this way, even though right now they're switched on through a switched outlet. You know, obviously the trailer hitch on here is switched. I'm running it this way because I'm going to get constant power to these this way when I'm out and about. I could turn the lights on, you know, anytime I want. Because my biggest issue with having a cover on this is at nighttime, I can't see a damn thing at all in the bed. And usually when I'm throwing shit back there, it's like lumber or groceries or whatever. And I don't want to have to start the car to get the lights to come on. I just want to open the bed, press the power button, and boom, lights come on. That's my goal. So I am going to do it this way, and I'm going to get constant power to these things going. Probably going to have to bridge one of the terminals in the fuse box to get constant power supplied to this trailer hitch back here. So I need to figure out how to do that. I'll try to post a video, or I'm going to try to compile everything together on this one so you guys can do everything. Here's a tip for routing your wires. Tip your flashlight. I am under the truck right now. God, you can't see that, sorry. I think I got something on my lens, but in the truck bed, just shine a light down and you'll see the little areas you can run wires. I went right up here with my wire, and then the wire ran all the way down. I apologize if you can't see this, there's not much light down here. But I just kind of zip tied it to that, ran it up through the frame, or whatever you want to call that, all the way over to here, up through there, and then out it came right here. So there's my power. I did electrical tape it through that run there, just because since it's rubbing up against metal here and there, I didn't want it to rip through the insulation and cause a short or something. I'm also gonna probably get like a little 3M thing and just kind of hold it right here so it doesn't go anywhere, and then it's going to be tucked behind my bed rug, so this way it is concealed. You're not going to see anything. I mean, I gotta attach that last part of the strip, but you can't see the strips anywhere else in the whole truck, so it's going to look pretty cool. What else was I going to say? For the wire, one thing that I would do different, I would run this wire first and then attach it to your ground and hot. It was more difficult to attach because it was already attached down there, so that's a recommendation. Also, if you can buy wire that's like a 2-conductor and it's in an insulated sleeve, that would be better, because I had to kind of electrical tape it, which offers a bit of protection but not quite as much as an insulated wire would. So my advice for these LEDs would be a 2-conductor wire, you know, your hot and your neutral, and something insulated. I mean, even speaker wire would work for these, but I wasn't quite thinking of that, so I taped it. It should be okay. You know, worst comes to worst, if this ever shorts or something, it'll just blow a fuse, and right now I don't tow anything, so it shouldn't be a big issue. But something to think about. I don't think this is gonna move or do anything, but once I attach it, so I think it's good. So I'm gonna wire up and I'm gonna solder these ends on. I have heat shrink. I don't want them coming undone with like a wire nut or something, so I'll solder those. I'll give you a tip too. Once I get my soldering iron hot here, I'll show you something. Makes it a little easier to solder things when you don't have something to hold them, so I'll show you that. So here's a little tip that I do to help me when I have to solder. Oh, I can't hold it something with a clamp. I just wrap the wire in solder and hit it real quick. And just like that, it's perfect on both sides already. Oh, and then I just touched it and screwed it up. But just like that, a lot easier. Do this one now. much solder on here, but whatever. And just tap it. When you have too much, you get solder that flies everywhere. But it makes it easier when you don't have something to hold it. It makes it a lot easier. Just slide your heat shrink over each connection. Just like that. We are pretty much done. I'll check out where I'm in my rocker switch. It's flush. Now I gotta pop it out. Actually, I just gotta do a cutout in my bed rug to have it pop out. So that will be what I'm doing next. And that's my rocker. It fit perfectly in that hole. I had to Dremel it a bit with a sanding bit though. But other than that, it fit perfectly in the hole. So I'm going to put this all together and show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so as you can see, this is the finished product. Obviously it's not turned on. So I'm going to turn it on and voila, light. A lot easier to see. No issues in there. The whole thing's lit up. Here is the switch. It's nicely mounted in my bed rug, right up against the bed where I found a hole. Off, on. Once again, let there be light. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know. And post some pictures and videos of yours. I'd like to see how this works out for everybody, because I love it. Alright, take care.